Hi everyone, and welcome to the NDIS Marketing Podcast, where we give you all the tips and ideas on how to market your NDIS services to your ideal participants. I've been on leave for a month due to illness. There's been a dreaded lurgy going around that some of you may be aware of, and unfortunately I came down with that. So this is our first episode for a month. So let's get into it. This week we're going to explore why we do what we do. And the reason I wanted to explore this is because it is vitally important that you understand why you are doing what you are doing. What are the services that you are providing, who you're providing it to, but more importantly, why you actually do that. Now, there's a lot of factors at play into why we actually do what we do. We've all heard it said at some point, treat others the way you wish to be treated. Well, sometimes we do what we do as a result of the way we're treated. When we're growing up, we learn by the power of observation. So if you're brought up in an environment where there's alcohol, drugs, yelling, that kind of unsafe, unpredictable environment, you end up observing that daily, then it stands to reason that that then becomes the way you treat others because it's all that you've known and haven't been exposed to anything differently. We're all at some degree the product of our environment. And studies have shown that we mirror those around us. This is called the unconscious learning process. Now, there's 4 stages to learning. Unconscious incompetence, where we don't know what we don't know. Conscious incompetence, where we know that we don't know. Conscious competence, where we know we don't know, so we work on finding the answer. And finally, unconscious competence, where we don't have to think about knowing it, we just know beyond doubt that it is actual fact. And we don't even actually have to think about it. The ultimate goal here is to get to level 4, where we're so certain that what we are doing is what we should do, that we just do it because it's in our DNA, and it just feels wrong and icky if we're not doing anything, or if we're not doing it, or if we're doing anything else. Now, for more information on the 4 stages of consciousness, I'll put a link in the show notes. The second factor at play as to why we do what we do is necessity. We do what we do because it's either essential for our survival, or we perceive on some level that it is necessary for our survival based on our environment and life experiences, or based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which are physiological, safety, love, esteem, and self-actualization. And for more information on Carl Maslow and his theory on the hierarchy of needs, I'll put a link in the show notes below as well. Now, the third factor at play as to why we do what we do is culture. Now, culture is something that happens naturally, and but we do have control over the way in which we do build culture, which is a very important part of running any business, but especially within the NDIS. And that comes by how you wish to build your business, how you motivate your team, how you motivate your participants towards the vision of your particular business. Essentially, in today's diverse world, where we come from such wide, diverse group of backgrounds and cultures, we must be aware that everyone does everything that they do because of their culture and upbringing that is ingrained in them from a very young age. Now, for more information on how culture is important to the NDIS space, or important to life and your business and what we do and why we do it, I'll also put another link to a LinkedIn article on that. in the show notes as well. We also do what we do out of fear of uncertainty. As human beings, we like to feel a sense of safety and security, but this will not help us to grow and achieve the things that we ultimately want out of our life. There's a saying, do what you have always done, and you'll always get what you always have. Or I like to put it this way, the definition of insanity or stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now, human beings crave certainty as a survival mechanism. But it is when we have the courage to cross over the fear of the unknown that we find true happiness and success. Now, for more information about how uncertainty impacts us and our lives and what we do and why we do it, there's also a link in the show notes regarding that as well. So how do we counteract this to achieve what we really want out of this one shot that we all have at this thing called life? Well, when we take the focus off ourselves and start to help those less fortunate than us, it has this amazing effect of reducing stress. It also improves self-esteem and happiness. Showing a simple act of kindness releases chemicals in the brain known as oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, which are all also known as the feel-good drugs. Another reason we do what we do is out of an innate need for acceptance. No man is an island, so we all do, at some level, crave human interaction. And I think what we experienced during COVID was a huge example of this. The problem there is that to live our true, authentic self, we must first learn to accept ourselves and not get our acceptance from external sources. Burnout never occurs from what we do, but the reason behind why we do it. If what we do, and more importantly, why we do it, is not in alignment with who we are, then it will ultimately lead to burnout. Now, I've been there a number of times in my life, even to the point of suicide. Those who are interested in knowing a bit about my story and growing up with a disability and having survived 2 suicide attempts, I'll put a link in the show notes to my keynote titled "We're All a Misfit," but you can also look that up on YouTube. But more recently, where I was caring for my wife 24/7, plus running a marketing business and trying to get into schools as a motivational speaker, which is something that I've always been passionate about, is motivating the next generation. I became overtired, exhausted, empty, and feelings of why bother. The problem was that at least some of it was not living as my true, authentic self. And I was living more out of service and habit than my true authenticity. I was only concerned about the short term. And the more focused on the short term, the more stressed I became. Once I focused on my life's work, now I'm less stressed. Sometimes have more on my plate, but now I have a plan on how to handle that. I'll also put a link in the show notes for those wanting more information on how the need for acceptance does impact on human life. It's basically a basic human need to crave connection and significance, which you can only find through meaningful contribution. And once we understand this on a deep level, then we'll find our truly unique purpose in life. And that is where true growth and fulfillment occurs. But I'm keen to know how you're building a true, authentic, deep connection with your staff and participants in a way that they see you as a trusted employer and a trusted provider. That's all I have today, just a quick episode. And I'll be back again next week. In the meantime, check out our website, www.hasslefreemarketing.com.au, for ways in which we can help NDIS providers get their message out to their target audience. You'll also find there where you can download our 101 ways to market your NDIS business. If you'd like further information, you can also email greg@hasslefreemarketing.com.au, and we look forward to you joining us again next week.